Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the Trump administration has not engaged in negotiations with China yet. That testimony at a House hearing contradicts President Trump's claims of active trade talks and that China's president even reached out to him in a phone call. ABC's Jay O'Brien's on Capitol Hill keeping track of that for us. Jay, what more is Secretary Bessent saying about these negotiations or lack thereof?
Exactly right, Diane. He said that revelation on the lack of negotiations happening with China. And then another question hanging over the secretary as he went into this hearing here on the other side of this hallway from me was, what would he say about the timeline of these ongoing trade negotiations with countries other than China? Dozens upon dozens of countries that we are not clear where the administration is in those trade talks, so that the administration keeps saying it's making progress, and that's been enough to calm down the markets. Secretary Bessent seems to say that at least with a handful of those countries, they are making significant progress. And he said that there might be news on that front as early as this week, but he didn't elaborate beyond that. And then he was asked if he could rule out the possibility of a recession because of these tariffs. Here's what he said.
I believe in data, and there is nothing in the data that shows that we are in a recession. As a matter of fact, the jobs report has surprised to the upside.
Now, President Trump, in an interview over the weekend, didn't rule out the possibility of a recession. He was also pressed repeatedly in multiple interviews, should Americans withstand some kind of temporary economic pain because of these tariffs? And Trump, to paraphrase him, said it was always the plan. And then he came back to something that the secretary repeated in this hearing as well, which is it is their plan to go through this transition period, as Republicans up here on Capitol Hill and some of the administration say. And in their view, there will be prosperity on the other end, Diane.
Meanwhile, Jay, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is testifying about the administration's immigration crackdown. What's the latest there?
Her hearing is still ongoing as we speak. It's actually happening on the other end of this hallway here. Noem's still inside. She was pressed repeatedly on the rule of law and if undocumented immigrants are afforded the rule of law or should be afforded the rule of law the way U.S. courts have ruled in the past. She seemed to sidestep the question and said that the rule of law is what Congress affords, and then she was cut off. But it goes to the larger question because President Trump was also asked that over the weekend. Should undocumented immigrants be afforded the rule of law? And his answer was, I don't know. And specifically, he was asked, should they be afforded due process before they are deported, as again, court after court after court have decided. Trump saying, I don't know. Secretary Noem seeming to sidestep that question, but Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying over the weekend, yes, Diane.